The foundation is initially launching with MCP, Goose, and Agents.md. How do these technologies complement each other and form the foundation for an open, interoperable agentic AI ecosystem?
Yeah, well, frankly, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen the OpenAI Agents SDK. I would have liked to have seen the Claude SDK. I would have liked to see a little bit more lean in. I would have liked to seen kind of more going all in on this. I don't see any reason for them to be holding those pieces back. But it shows that they have an intent, and we'll see where this goes. It's important to remember that a lot of the times these foundations, they new ones, they start off with a few pieces, and then they gather steam over time. So I don't worry too much about it. It is interesting that we've got a protocol, a desktop app, and a markdown file, and that's an odd combination, I'll be honest, but it shows an intent to basically do the right thing, which is to drive standardization through winning, and that's the big thing. One what Anthropic did that I, really appreciate a lot is that they came out hard and they launched MCP. They got immediate traction, and people said, "Hey, there's no authentication. We've got security concerns, et cetera, et cetera." Bam, a few months later, they dropped authentication and put in the basics for security. There's no registry. We've got concerns about that. Bam, there's a registry a few months later, right? And then you can see kind of the writing on the wall. They're talking now about MCP servers basically handling code and being able to run code. So it won't be just tool calling. So, they're doing the right thing in terms of rapid iteration, listening to customers, using it themselves, understanding what works and what doesn't work. And the reality is that even though people talk about AI native right now, AI native isn't defined in the way that cloud native is. So we don't actually know what AI native is. It's far too early. Everybody's using it as a marketing term. They're trying to attach it to cloud native, but the patterns aren't there. We're discovering the patterns now. It's going to be this next generation of agents that are deployed inside the enterprise, and all the learning we do about that and around that, that's going to ultimately define AI native. But it seems pretty clear to me that model context protocol will be right in the thick of that. And as long as Anthropic continues to be flexible and thoughtful and rapidly iterating, and welcomes an ecosystem of people around it through the foundation, I think we've got a bright future ahead. So we'll do all the learning together. Some things will work, some things won't. But eventually we'll come to some general rough consensus and running code.
What does this level of standardization unlock for enterprises, especially around interoperability and building autonomous systems?
I think that it's going to be very interesting. I think that the 10,000 MCP servers is like not very interesting, to be honest. What's interesting is it github.com/MCP. Like, I think we're going to see this more and more, which is that all of these different SaaS providers will have an MCP endpoint. Maybe it's mcp.salesforce.com, or maybe it's /MCP, whatever it is. More and more, what you're going to see is that you've got a REST API and you've got an agent API. And that API will be MCP, and you'll provide it. You'll provide it in your products. You'll provide it in your services. Everything will come baked with MCP in it in some manner. In fact, right now, inside of Mirantis, we have an effort where we're looking into baking MCP servers into all of our products. We're basically doing that work right now. Our customers are asking for it. They want a way to connect their agents across all of our products. And so I think we're going to see basically two sets of MCP servers in the world going forward. There will be the set that vendors provide that will be either a service endpoint if it's a SaaS service, or it'll come, baked in some way with their products if it's a product that gets shipped to your site. And then there will be a set of MCP servers that are the ones that are custom made. So if you've got a financial services company, like we have a couple that we're working with right now, they don't want to build MCP servers for all of their vendors' products. They want their vendors to deliver MCP servers to them, and then they're busy building custom MCP servers that they're using internally that are about their businesses and their business processes and their data sets and the tools that they need. And that's where we're going to get to. So I think that you'll see a set of open source MCP servers, but more and more it'll be a de facto standard that vendors deliver as part of their offering. And it'll be customized, bespoke ones that are built for businesses based off of their own business needs. And that'll be the two parts of the world.